How to review your habits and make adjustment. In 1986, the Los Angeles Lakers had one of the most talented basketball teams who were assembled, but they are rarely remembered that way. The team started the 1985 to 1986 NBA season with an astounding 29-5 records. The pundits were saying that we might be the best team in the history of basketball. Head coach Pat Riley said after the reason, surprisingly, the Lakers stumbled in the 1986 playoff and suffered a season ending defeat in the Western Conference finals. The best team in the history of basketball didn't even play for the NBA championship. After the blow, Rayleigh was tired of hearing about how much talent his player had and about how much promise his team held. He didn't want to see flashes of brilliance followed by a gradual fade in performance. He wanted the Lakers to play up to their potential night after night in the summer of 1986. He created a plan to do exactly that, a system that he called the Career Best Effort Program or CBE. When players first joined the Lakers, really explained, we tracked their basketball statistics all the way back to high school. I call this taking their numbers. We look for an accurate gauge of what a player can do, then build him into our plan for the team based on notion that he will maintain and then improve upon his average. After determining a player's baseline level of performance, Rayleigh added a key step. He asked each player to improve their output by at least 1% over the course of the season. If they succeed, it would be a CBE or career best effort similar to the British cycling team that we discussed in chapter 1. The Lakers sought peak performance by getting slightly better each day. Really was careful to point out that CBE was not merely about pointing or statistic, but about giving your best efforts spiritually and mentally and physically. Players got credit for allowing an opponent to run into you when you know what a foul will be called against him. Diving for loose balls, going after rebound, whether you are likely to get them or not, helping a teammate when the player he is guarding has surged past him, and other unsung heroes did. As an example, let's say the Magic Johnson. The Lakers' star players at the time had 11 points, 8 rebounds, 12 assists, 2 steals, and 2 turnovers in a game. Magic also got credit for an unsung heroes deeds by dividing after loose ball plus one. Finally, he played a total of 32 minutes in his imaginary game. The positive number of 11 plus 8 plus 22 plus 2 plus 1 add up to 34. Then we subtract the 5 turnover, 34 minus 5 to get 29. Finally, we divided 29 by 33 minutes played. 29 divided by 33 equals 0.879. Magic CBE numbers here would be 879. This number was calculated for all of the player games, and it was the average CBE that a player was asked to improve by 1% over the season. Really compare each player current CBE on not only their past performance but also those of other players in the league. As really put it, we rank them members alongside league opponents who play the same position have similar role definition. Support writer Jackie McMullen noted, really trumpet the top performance in the league in bold lettering on the blackboard. each week and measure them against the corresponding players on his own roster. Solid, reliable players generally rated a score in the 600s, while elite players score at least 800. Magic Johnson, who submitted 138 triple doubles in his career, often scored over 1,000. The Lakers, who emphasize years over year progress by making historical comparison of CBE data, really said we stacked the amount of November 1986 next on November 1985 and showed the players whether they were doing better or worse than at the same point last season. Then we showed them how their performance figure for December 1986 stack up against November. The Lakers rolled out CBE in October 1986. 8 months later, they were NBA champions. The following year, Pat Riley led his team to another title as the Lakers became the first team in 20 years to win back-to-back NBA championship. Afterwards, he said, sustaining an effort is the most important thing for any enterprise. The way to be successful is to learn how to do things right, then do them the same way every time. The CBE program is a prime example of the power of reflection and review. The Lakers were already talented. CBE helped them get the most out of what they had and made sure their habits improved rather than decline. Reflection and review enables the long-term improvement of all habits because it makes you aware of your mistakes and help you consider possible path of improvement. Without reflection, we can make excuse, create rash- rationalization, and lie to ourselves. We have no process for determining whether we are performing better or worse compared to yesterday. Top performers in all fields engage in various types of reflection and review. The process doesn't have to complex. Kenyan runner Eliud Kipchoge is one of the greatest marathoners of all time and an Olympic gold medalist. He still takes notes after every practice in which he reviews his training for the day and searches for area that can be improved. Similarly, gold medal swimmer Katie Ledecky record her wellness on a scale of 1 to 10 and includes notes on her nutrition and how well she slept. She also records the times posted by other swimmers. At the end of each week, her coach goes over her notes and add his thoughts. It's not just athletes either. When comedian Chris Rock is preparing fresh material, he will first appear at a small nightclubs dozen of times and tells hundreds of jokes. He brings a notepad on a stage and records which bits go over well and where he needs to make adjustment. The few killer lines that survive will form the backbone of his new show. I knew the executive and investor who keep a decision journal in which they record the major decision they make each week, when they made them, and what they expect the outcomes to be. They review their choices at the end of each month or year to see where they were correct and where they went wrong. Improvement is not just about learning habits, it's also about fine tuning them. Reflection and review ensure that you spend your time on the right things and make course correction whenever necessary, like Part really adjusting the efforts of his players on a nightly basis. You don't want to keep practicing a habit, it is become ineffective. Personally, I employ two primary modes of reflection and review. Each December, I perform an annual review in which I reflect on the previous year. I, ta- I tally my habits for the year by counting up how many articles I publish, how many workout I put in, how many new places I visited, and more. Then I reflect on my progress or lack thereof by answering the question, what went what went well this year? Number two, what didn't go so well this year? Point number three, what did I learned?